Hi. If you are an artist that always seems to get stuck in a state where it becomes impossible to access those unique and beautiful ideas that lie dormant deep inside of you, to enter this flow state and create art that feels authentic, and this might be for you. Maybe you have thousands of projects and ideas that you want to get out, but you don't know where to start. Maybe you feel so fearful that you can't even pick up a pen. Turns out you're not alone. And turns out there's nothing wrong with you, and that there's just one thing that is the root of not just this problem affecting your creativity, but also every other aspect in your life, where you feel like you're constantly letting yourself down and feel like living up to your expectations is a fight, be it socially, or how present you are, or how kind you are, or that you're procrastinating every time. Seeing this one root problem and addressing it will help us snap out of this constant state of overwhelm, so ideas can flow like they should be flowing, and you can get out of the spiraling feeling of never feeling like you're enough. So the other day, I listened to this podcast about neuroscience, and it was a total game changer. It talked about how understanding our brain will help us fundamentally to be the best artist version of ourselves. How our nervous system really influences every single aspect of our life, be it social aspects, how present you are, how grateful you can be, how much you can tap into that authentic version of yourself, but also our creativity. Do you also feel like your life is just full of aspects that allegedly need fixing? I sure know I do. That ranges from getting better at texting back, doing things that I've been putting off for so long that I don't even put them on my to-do list anymore because I feel so guilty. Being myself in social settings, tapping into my body, feeling what my body and my mind needs today. Learning to prioritize rest over goals, guilt-free, getting out of my comfort zone, being courageous in that way. There's so many things, and it's so overwhelming that one doesn't even know where to start a lot of the times. Well, the good news is this podcast and this theory helped me understand that all these aspects in my life that I'm struggling with all tie back to one core root problem. So if we change this, everything else will just fall into place. And that, for me, feels so much less daunting than fixing all these separate parts individually and feeling guilty about them every single day. So let's get to this theory. It's called the polyvagal theory, which sounds daunting and scientific and non-artisty, but hear me out. The idea is that there's basically 3 modes that our brain is in. Let's start with the top part, the best part, called the ventral vagal stage. This is where you want to be. You're your most authentic and most artistic and most creative version of yourself. When you are in that stage, you create art that feels like you get into the flow state more easily. You're enjoying lines, you're enjoying challenges. You have space to come up and explore new and authentic ideas, unique ideas. I know we've all been in this stage before at some point in our artistic journey. For me, it feels like when you start creating, you cannot stop because it feels so right and it feels so good and it feels so authentic, and it feels like I'm able to take in all the beauty in the world around me, absorb all the ideas and the beautiful things I'm surrounded with, and channel them into my art, create something equally, if not even more beautiful out of that. Kind of that artistic superpower that every artist has if they're in the right mindset, where you create art that brings you joy and gives you a feeling of relief and feels like you release something. And once you finish, you just want to sit down and do the next painting right after. That is the stage I'm talking about. And I believe this is kind of our natural state. However, in this day and age, it's very likely, unfortunately, that you are mostly stuck in this stage called the sympathicus, but also most commonly known as the fight or flight mode. In this stage, as an artist, it probably looks like you are creating more out of stress or fear of not being enough rather than enjoyment. It might look like you're drawing too fast, or you're not enjoying the drawings that you're doing, drawing rather to finish rather than to explore and enjoy the process as you go, feeling like you're not enough, and in the end not liking what you're putting out into the world, because you can see that you've been forcing every step of the way. And then there's the third stage, the dorsal vagal stage, which is kind of the worst stage to be stuck in. This is commonly known as the freeze state, and I believe artistically this translates as you being artistically completely blocked. If you know someone who is in that stage, or maybe you have been or are stuck in this stage yourself, you know that this is the worst, most crushing state to be in, because I truly do believe as creative people we need to be creating and pouring things out into the world in order to feel happy and fulfilled. And this stage just won't let us do that. You sit down in front of a blank piece of paper and you cannot come up with anything. You can't even pick up the pen. It feels so blocked. You feel so disconnected from your art and that inner voice in yourself. You're in such a state of survival that creating something lighthearted and beautiful, creating anything at all, seems impossible. And that is a terrible state to be in. In both of these last two stages, nothing is flowing. And unfortunately, it is very easy for these last two stages to activate, especially in this day and age. Something as simple as just logging onto social media, seeing other artists creating, comparing yourself to what they're doing, how they're creating, how much likes they're getting, how many jobs they're getting, how effortlessly they can create compared to you. That alone is enough to jolt your brain into fight or flight mode. Anything that jolts you into the state of comparing yourself and not feeling enough with this capitalist society also feeds off of us not ever feeling enough, feeling like we always need to do and buy more. Like our entire society, our entire surroundings are made to activate the fight or flight mode at all times. And there's been countless studies on it being a big problem that nowadays we are constantly in the state that in hunter-gatherer times was really only activated when we were in danger, in survival mode, and what terrible health effects that has on us. So if you still feel bad about how disconnected you are to that artistic version of yourself that you know exists, know that this is not your fault at all. You're living in a world where it becomes impossible to create effortlessly, and there's no sense in beating yourself up over that. But if you remain unaware that this is just your entire surrounding training yourself to feel that way, it becomes very easy to just blame yourself for not being able to create what you know you should and can create. So what do we do? Now that we understand how deeply our artistic journey is affected by what state our nervous system is in right now, how can we switch and stay in the ventral vagal stage? The very, very, very first step to anything in life, but especially this, is just cultivating the self-awareness to even feel what state you are in right now in this moment. When you're sitting down, are you excited about creating, or do you feel tense and that you need to be doing this? Is there discomfort? Is there uneasiness in your body? Or is there joy? Where is your heart and mind at today? There is mindfulness practices like meditation that can help you investigate that, but really it is possible to feel that in every given stage. It's just that we're so constantly in fight or flight mode that feels like the norm. Like, it's crazy. When I try to think back of when my ventral vagal stage was activated, those are moments when conversations flow quite easily for me, where I'm not in spiraling thought mode, where I feel calm, where I feel I can really take in everything that's around me and everything that's inside me. That is very rare that I am in that stage, and that is shocking in itself. But if you think back of a time like that, that can also put in perspective where you are right now, where you are today. Just being aware of where your heart is at today is already huge. And then it's time for a very counterintuitive mindset shift. I am pretty sure that for you, the way your brain is wired right now, in order to feel at peace and to allow yourself to rest, you need to be creating and finish stuff. You know, how many times do we tell ourselves that if you can just finish this project, if you can just get this thing off our to-do list, cross everything off, then finally we can sit down and rest and have our nervous system calm down. If we get the amount of followers that we think we need, or that job, or update a portfolio, whatever it might be for you. We feel like once we achieve that, then we deserve rest. But here's the catch. Even if you finish the project, even if you cross everything off your to-do list, if you're in fight or flight mode, you will never feel like it was enough. That goal you achieved, that painting that you finished, will immediately get replaced by a new, further goal that you feel like you need to reach. It's called the arrival fallacy. That goalpost that you're seeing in the future moves immediately the moment you reach it. It's like an urge that can never be satisfied by external goals. If we want to really truly switch into ventral vagal stage, we need to learn to do the exact opposite of what this society has been telling us to do all our life. We need to rewire our brain against all the conditioning and learn to do the resting before taking action. To first create peace in your life and have beautiful work and ideas bloom out of that quiet space, instead of peace being the final reward for all the action that you've been taking. I realized last week in shock that almost every week I tell myself I am gonna finish all this work so that I can finally lie under a tree for hours and read a book, like from start to finish, like a 300-400 page book, just listening to music and just being completely just chilling in ventral vagal stage, just having the most calming and beautiful and restful day as a reward for everything that I achieved in that week. And I never let myself do that because I never feel like I've achieved enough. And I can really see that all my life until I die. I can be like, oh, I can't wait for this day to happen where I'll lie under a tree and read a book. And if I don't just take the step of doing that before I've achieved everything I wanted to achieve, that day will never come. I'll never be satisfied. If I would have learned earlier to lay under that apple tree and read my book, my art would pop off so much more, because it's in those moments of quiet. It's like after a 5-6 hour hike in nature and listening to your own breath and letting your thoughts wander and taking in the surroundings, that's when naturally these amazing ideas just bubble up. I'm sure you felt that before, where you don't even expect it. That's not the reason you took the hike, that's not the reason you went into rest mode, but out of that rest, ideas come and flourish. It's out of the quiet where they come, and it's gorgeous, and it works every time. So how do we do that? How do we switch into the ventral vagal stage if that's where beautiful ideas come from? This will take some experimenting, and it's going to be different for every person. But now that we literally know that this is the base of every true, beautiful piece of art and story worth telling, I feel like it's really enticing to prioritize really calming our nervous system, not making it just another point on your to-do list that you need to feel guilty about, but actually making that a priority, because that is where beauty and authenticity and presence comes from, and that's what makes life worth living, not all these external goals that you achieve, even though it's so hard for my brain to wrap around that as well, because we've been conditioned all our life. So the good news is it's very easy to activate the ventral vagal stage, just as it's very easy to activate the two other stages. Studies show that just pausing for a second and looking around and noticing something beautiful around you, be it nature or clouds or the cozy mood in your bedroom or enjoying a cup of tea, noticing an act of kindness on the train and really feeling into that, feeling grateful for loved ones, friends, family around, smelling the rain on the pavement, or noticing the way the light comes into the room. If you really take a moment to stop and recognize the beauty around you, you notice that every, even super mundane moment has something unique and gorgeous about it. There's something you can be grateful for around you at every single moment, and you can train your brain to notice those tiny things. And you tapping into that moment, even if it's just for a second during a super busy day, that is enough to jolt you back into ventral vagal stage and regulate your nervous system. And I find that so beautiful. I think that goes to show that being in a grateful state of awareness is our natural state of being, and not this frantic we need more and we need everything and stuff. It just makes me very happy. I think that is a very beautiful sign from nature, that is what calms our nervous system and soothes us. Speaking of calmness, the way you start your day can really affect the rest of your day. So you can start the day in a state of calmness if that is possible for you. That will set you up for a more regulated nervous system throughout your busy day. If it in any way is possible with your sleep schedule, I highly recommend taking slow, quiet mornings completely to yourself. Sometimes I like to take 2 to 3 hours waking up earlier just so I can really tap into what I need that day. Be it a meditation, be it some morning stretches, be it reading, journaling, anything. But just giving your brain that space of like, this is a day where we can feel into what we need. This is a day where we can be at peace with where we are, as opposed to those mornings where you wake up and already the thoughts and the scarcity mindset are running haywire and you feel like you need to get up immediately to get on top of all the things in your to-do list. Just a head full of shoulds. And that could also really tone the rest of your day. So making sure you invite some quiet and some slowness into the mornings can set your brain up to stay in that state for the rest of the day. Another thing that you could try is obviously regulating your social media use. We've talked about the negative effects of social media on your nervous system before, and knowing that this is just a big ball of giant triggers for you might be a good reminder to not go to social media, especially when you're feeling like overwhelmed or like you need to disconnect from reality, like you need to rest and put your mind at ease. That is when people go into doom scrolling, and the doom scrolling and the comparing yourself and just being online in general actually does the exact opposite. Being aware of that might help you, motivate you to not mindlessly grab your phone every so often. Another thing that you could try, and this one I really like because it's really easy to incorporate that into your day, no matter how busy you are, no matter what responsibilities you have in your life. Incorporating a breathing exercise into your life. So sometimes it's impossible to think yourself out of the fight or flight mode. That oftentimes is impossible. And in that moment, it's really great to kind of trick your mind into thinking that it is calm through breathing as if you were calm. Like you're using your body to trick your brain, like, oh, I guess we're not running from a tiger right now. I guess we're not in survival stage. I guess we can slow down a little bit because we're breathing as if we're so chill. I like the breathing exercise of breathing in for 4, holding for 6, and exhaling for 8. What that does is just through elongating the exhale, the parasympathetic nervous system automatically gets activated. If you just do that on a walk, while running somewhere, even if you're like in a moment of stress, or if you're reading emails, you can do that, or cleaning, you can do that on the side. And if you do that for a couple of minutes, you can feel your nervous system regulating. It is an amazing practice. I use it all the time. Another thing to look out for is to make sure that you're not pushing yourself with your artistic practice, especially to a point where you feel too burned out to keep going. Just making peace with the fact, accepting the fact that you will never reach the end of your to-do list. That might sound terrible and really stressful, but really that gives me so much peace. I don't even need to try to frantically finish everything. How rare is it that you actually cross everything off your to-do list, if you're honest? Just accepting that this is a guideline brings me so much peace and allows me to stop working when I feel out, working a little bit more intuitively, because if I push myself beyond the point where I can't concentrate anymore, or don't feel like creating anymore, then that will have an effect on the next day, and it will have an effect on the upcoming week for drawing. I used to always do that. I drew until I couldn't anymore, and then I was artistically burned out because my sympathetic nervous system was so activated, and it just made it impossible to sit down and create for the rest of the day or the rest of the week. At some point in your life, you need to accept that recharging and resetting and resting is a crucial part, not an optional part, a crucial part of the creative process. Like, if you learn to rest really well, your art will get so good. If you learn to rest without feeling guilty about resting, your art will get so good. I listened to another amazing podcast about the art of resting yesterday. I'll link it down below, where she talks about feeling guilty about resting. I really hope this power of regulating your nervous system gives you some hope and some comfort, or at the very least, stops you from being stuck in a constant swirl of negative self-talk because you're not where you think you need to be. Prioritizing tapping into regulating your nervous system, calming yourself, will probably be an uphill battle in the very beginning because it goes against everything society needs you to believe about yourself. But I love that if we really learn to integrate that for ourselves, however that may look, the reward is nothing less than living a peaceful, artistically fulfilled life, where you have a healthy and inspiring art practice that carries you throughout your creations, and the possibility to be grateful and present to witness this beautiful world right now that we get to live in. It brings us back to this beautiful natural state that we've forgotten, that has been in us, I believe, all this time, but just completely covered by all the noise and clutter and negative self-talk. And I love that to reach this stage, we get to learn to listen to our bodies and learn skills that bring us lasting happiness throughout our life. I really hope you give this a try. It has been such a game changer for me. I love how counterintuitive it is and how simple it is. And it's really been having such an amazing effect on my mental health and my creation. I feel the strong need to update my portfolio, to make all these videos, to create all these things, and also I'm gonna use this sunny day today and lie in the grass and enjoy that for myself, because I know what comes from that is true, authentic, joyful creation, not out of the sense of scarcity, not out of a sense of fear, but out of me and what I need to be creating, and that is gorgeous and beautiful. Alright, thank you so much for listening. I hope you find this helpful. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.